Absolutely. And yeah, SS. So we talk about what made West Indies such a strong team. We talk about how they fell from that dynasty level. But then, we are a what ifs podcast. We
And
cannot
I have
not
got a
discuss
great
those.
what if for you. I've got a great what if for you. Because you mentioned at the very start, and I got offended by it because I'm such a big fan of West Indies fast bowling. You said protective gear era. I took offense to that. Do you think, really think, if a proper modern day protective equipment was there and you had throwdown specialists and bowling machines, would it have affected West Indies' dominance?
So I think about it in two parts. One is the actual game that is happening on ground. The other is the mind game that is happening. On ground game, I think it would not have impacted much. West Indian bowling attack was very, very potent. I think they were potent enough to be effective in any condition across the world. And we saw that, right? West Indies coming to India and defeating India with pace, going to Australia and then dominating them, going to England and dominating them. So they played across the world and dominated with that pace attack. So I think if the protective gear was there, they would still be very, very potent. But I also feel that they would have lost that X factor, that edge in their game. The fear that they struck within the opposition's minds, that probably wouldn't have been as bad. Like we wouldn't have teams coming in and talking about how to face these bowlers or how to even survive the test matches. We wouldn't have Graham Gooch coming in giving statements like, I was actually afraid of my life. So that X factor would have gone down. And I think that would have prompted the other teams to actually go that one step further in competing better. So I think by and large, bowlers were very potent, very effective. They would have continued to do so. They would have continued to dominate the batters, but probably they would have lost a test series here and there. Maybe not in
Yeah,
15-year
my
range.
my yeah, my short response to that I think is I think they might have drawn or lost a test match here and there, but they would have won most series that they anyways won. It's just because they had cracked the formula. The tests are won by picking 20 wickets, and they had the best bowlers in the world, and no team was thinking that way. They had good batters and decently couple of good bowlers, but to have bowlers who could win series by picking 20 wickets consistently, only West Indies had, with or without protective gear, with the kind of tactical acumen and how they would plan. This is also one of the things that people forget. They used to plan so well, bowling in packs and everything. They would have still been really dominant.
Okay, so now it's my chance to ask you a what if question, SS. You put me on spot and now back at you. So, what if cricket had not migrated to white ball because West Indies had actually cracked the test formula? What if cricket had not migrated to white ball? Would it have changed anything? And also with the white ball format coming in, there's also that aspect of commercialization and polarizing of the cricketing world. Would that have changed? I know you spoke a bit about it. So, from a what if point of view, what would have happened? What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, white ball cricket essentially, if you have to chunk it up, it essentially came because to make the game more accessible, like 3 hour game or so 6 hour game or 9 hour game that can finish in one day. People can watch it after their work hours. Take because five-day game became much longer for a modern world essentially. And but you look at the other way, West Indies were like really dominant in the 70s, winning 2 World Cups. They were the best team, best white ball team. They reached the 83 final as well. So it's not essentially the white ball game, especially the ODI game, that would have affected them, and that did not affect them because they were so dominant. In fact, they just amplified their skills, I would say. Uh, I think it's the major reason that the commercial aspects that got brought out, and they were at the wrong end of it. They did not get or maybe even if they got, they did not use their funds properly to invest for the future in the grassroots program, just making sure that their domestic structure is up to the mark and able to compete with England, Australia, India, who were anyways bigger economies who invested it very wisely and anyways over time got bigger chunks out of the ICC and all the broadcasting revenue. So they just about when the commercial revenues were available, they did not get the best piece of it, and whatever they got, they did not invest well. So I think it's not just that the white ball game came and, or if it would have come earlier on, they would have lost even more years of domination. It's not that. It's just the commercial aspect of it, which they couldn't deal with well and couldn't, solidify their domestic structures. I think I think that that's the biggest problem. I think,
Yeah, and
and I don't think because of the domestic structures and how fragmented there is, it could have been different.
And I agree with that. White ball, they were doing pretty good in the white ball format as well, winning the first two World Cups and almost winning the third World Cup as well, doing a three-peat when the tournament starts. So white ball, I don't think it impacted their gameplay or their abilities, and it didn't shift anything away from their areas of strength. Commercialization, I of course feel that the point of time when cricket started to get commercialized was right after their golden era, so they
Yeah.
missed out on that bus. So I also agree on that bit.
And also, I mean, there were a couple of attempts to get like the Kerry Packer thing. I mean, if it got officiated as like an IPL window in which players could go out and earn money and then came back because of the ethos Lloyd and Richards had put in, it would have been interesting that they would have still gone out and earned money that would have prompted a lot of young players to take up cricket, but then still have the integrity and the will to play for West Indies and succeed. That would have been great for them. Now, how it would have percolated on the board, that is difficult to say, but at least in terms of garnering more attention for the youth to take up cricket, that would have been definitely helpful. If it would have been institutionalized like IPL was. Um, that could have made a difference, I think.
Absolutely. And since we're talking about IPL, there's also the factor, right? The greatest T20 what if.
If Viv
Viv
Richards played
Richards.
T20s and was, he would have got 35 crore for sure from
Absolutely.
Goenka and Shah Rukh Khan both for splitting 3 weeks with LSG and 3 weeks with KKR.
Yeah, but I do feel if we had T20 cricket back in the 80s, West Indies team would have dominated that and probably would have gotten the right end of cricket commercialization.
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, as teams as well, as players as well, and also maybe as board as well. I mean, they would have gained a lot, and maybe cricket as a sport would have got even more viewership and more teams playing cricket. But that's the fantasy world. But it would have been great to see Viv Richards play T20s.
Absolutely. We can only imagine about it right now, what he would have done to the opposition bowlers. Okay, so one more question for you, SS. Can any team in the modern times, in the contemporary, out of all the contemporary cricket teams that we have right now, compete against that West Indian lineup? What's your pick?
Yeah, I would have picked this aging Australian team. That would have come closest. They've got like a all-time great bowling attack. In fact, a lot of teams have had their one of the best. This is the bowling era, as a lot of analysts talk about. But I think this Australian variety, you still have Boland and everyone coming in, and they have Lyon like a generational off spinner. But they also lost a lot of series in India. I mean, who will say 10, 15 years winning everywhere in the world? Uh, you think about the Koshastri team, which had good fast bowlers and great batting. I think better batting than the Australian team. Uh, it's very difficult to say. I don't think any team would come close, especially with the multi-format stuff that's going around in the world and players being available for all to us. I think this Australian team would come the close, but I think that West Indies team is called the best team for a reason. Uh, I don't think that's going to get replicated anytime soon.
My take on that is the one team West Indies did not defeat during their unbeaten streak, which is South Africa. Of course, it's
Nice
of
one.
course
We
it's
also
a
did not defeat them in
yeah.
the Koshastri era.
Absolutely. Of course, it's a cheap shot because they weren't playing against South Africa because of
Yeah.
apartheid ban. But then still, I feel if one team I have to pick up out of the contemporary teams, then the other World Test Championship finalists, South Africa, would come close. Although they have certain weaknesses, their batting lineup is a bit fragile. I
The
don't
good
see a
bowling
world.
attack.
They have a good bowling attack. They also don't have that world class spinner like a Nathan Lyon or Ravichandran Ashwin that even India does not have
But
right now.
well, if you want to replicate West Indies formula, you don't need a spinner apparently. Uh,
Yeah.
four fast bowlers, which South Africa goes for, is very helpful. But I would love to see that formula being tried in Asian conditions, especially India. India is in transition. Maybe they will do well. So that will be interesting to see because that's also what happened in the West Indies era. England and Australia were not at their absolute best. And even though that's not throwing a shade to the great West Indies side, Now, if South Africa has to do it, India is in transition, Australia will go into transition. Maybe they can do it, but England as well. But you can always say India, England, Australia will produce great cricketers, and it will be very difficult for South Africa to win consistently away. That's what is the hallmark of that great Australian, West Indies, and Australian team. They would win away and win convincingly. Who can do that?
And for
I think no
15
one.
years, like we Indian team had a 13-year undefeated home streak,
Home
but
streak.
not home and away. That's
Yeah.
like